Hey guys, my name's Andrew, and today we're going to be talking about things that I think every new DM should know before starting their first campaign. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of things, but we're mainly focused around things that you should know before you start your first session, before you get players together, before anything else. This is and things that you should plan on doing. So the first thing that you should do when you start a new campaign is you should have a session 0. Now, for those who don't know what a session 0 is, it is a meeting or a session that comprises of everyone getting together, everyone before any characters are made, before we talk about anything else. The first thing you're going to do is lay down house rules. What are you going to allow in your game that maybe other tables don't have? Maybe there is a rule in the game that you don't like. For example, one of my house rules is I don't allow the lucky feature or feat. I don't allow Revivify, the spell. I think it's just too overblown. We may make a video about stuff like that, things that I think are good house rules. But these are all things that you need to get out of the way first. What is the campaign going to be about? Like, what are the main enemies that you're going to be fighting? Is it going to be zombies? Is it going to be like undead? Are you going to be fighting mostly fiends or demons or fae or infernal? Or what are you going to be fighting? The reason why this is important is because when you start a new campaign and you start your first session, let's say you start in a bar, and and everyone meets together because they're all part of this new mercenary group that started. Maybe your players don't want to be mercenaries. Maybe your players want to start in the midst of battle, and that's how they meet each other, is because they're all part of the same army, or there are many other things that go into play that you need to talk about before you play your first session. Some other reasons why session 0 is so important is because not everyone knows what other people are going to play. And if everyone, like myself, I make my character before everyone else does. And if you come to the game and everyone has their own character, they've decided on what they want to play, and you have 5 players who all are playing rogues, I mean, sure, you could figure out a way to work it out. Maybe you have an NPC that's a healer. Maybe you have a fighter NPC, or you may be able to find a way to make it work. But most of the time, it would be easier for you, the DM, if you had a balanced party, a party that has a fighter, a wizard, a cleric, a rogue. Someone to fill in all of the spaces. You need someone to identify items. You need someone who's going to be on the front line. You need someone who's going to be able to pick the locks. You need someone who's going to be able to do damage from range. You need someone who's going to heal everybody and shield everybody and debuffs and buffs. There's a lot that goes into it. And if you go in this blind, without that session 0, that's where problems are going to start. Maybe it won't be the first session, but it will definitely be down the line. There will be problems. And so to avoid all that, we have session 0. Now, when you're making your campaign, consider everyone's feelings about the campaign. What do they want to fight? And this is something that I ask every new player. What do you want to get out of this game? Do you want to fight epic monsters? Do you want to rule the world? Do you want to solve a mystery that no one in this world has ever been able to solve? Do you want to be a mercenary group that makes a lot of money? Do you want to be evil and do evil things and make an axis of and pacts with demons? You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that players want out of the game, and most of the time they're not just going to tell you. You have to ask them. You have to get it out of them. And if you go along with the campaign, those quiet players, that cleric in the background who may not talk that often, they'll play the whole campaign and they realize the thing that they wanted to do, if they would have just spoke up about it, they would have got. That you could have made the whole campaign for him if he just got to do this one thing. So ask your players, what do they want to get out of the campaign? What's in it for you? Not just the DM on the DM side. You know what you want. You know you want to play as the villains. You want to create a world, a story. You want to flesh out lore and NPCs that are memorable and smart. But you may not be able to get everyone else's input, and you may not be able to get everyone else to have fun if they don't have their own input. Now, following up on that, the next thing we're going to talk about is something I wish I was told when I first started. And this is the most important thing I'm going to tell you above anything else in this video. When a player asks you, "What can I do this thing?" No matter what it is, do everything in your power to say yes. Unless it breaks the game, unless it ruins everyone else's game for them, if it destroys the campaign, then yes, you could say no. But you are the DM. If you want them to have fun, if you want to progress the story, if you want to keep the campaign going, you've got to let the players feel like the decisions that they make matter. Because they need to matter if they're gonna have fun. Maybe you had this scenario where a very important NPC ends up dying. Well, what if the fighter decides to run up and stop it from happening? You have planned a whole 2 sessions ahead of time of things that are gonna happen, and because this NPC dies. But if you tell this fighter that he can't do that, then you just ruined it for him. You just ruined the immersion. You ruined it because you're doing this thing called railroading. Railroading is when you force a player onto a track and they can't get out. They feel like any decision that they make that's go outside of what the general feel of the campaign is, how it's going, they feel like nothing that they do matters. And that's the worst thing that you can do for a player, is to make their decisions feel like they don't matter. So when a player asks you, "Can I do X thing?" unless it really goes far out of the way, do your best to say yes. They will get to this mission that you really want to do. They will get to that. Maybe not today. Just put it on the shelf and you'll do it another time. At first, it hurt. I really didn't like doing that. But as I kept playing and I kept saying yes and I kept letting my players do what they want to do, I realized the things that they come up with are much more exciting, much more interesting, and much more fun than anything I had planned. Because you have to go off the cuff, you have to improv. And that's something that you really have to learn to do. And speaking of that, do not plan too much ahead. You need to learn how to improv. You need to learn how to improv what happens in the game, what happens during combat, what NPCs do and say. There's a lot of improvisation in D&D. And that's something that you have to, it's not going to come at first. Maybe some people are better than others at it, but for the most part, you got to get used to it. You got to get better at being able to go off the cuff, because like I said before about railroading, the thing is that most of the time, you are going to have an idea of what players are going to do, but you won't really know for sure that they're going to do it. Most of the time, they're going to throw an oddball at you, and it's going to completely go in a way that you didn't even think they were going to do. Sometimes they talk to that bartender that you put a name and face to, and you had no idea what they wanted. You didn't have a plan for their backstory, who they were. You didn't plan any of that. But maybe your bard wants to sit there and talk to him for 15 minutes. You need to go off the cuff and be like, all right, well, what's his name? What's his parents' name? You know, that you need to be able to make that up. I'm not saying you need a plan for all that to happen. You don't need a plan for all that, because for the most part, that bartender is never going to be talked to. Most of the time, they're just going to keep on going, walk past the bartender, walk past all the other NPCs, and go towards the bad guys. Go towards the next checkpoint. Because that's why they're playing the campaign, to get to that checkpoint. Most of the time, they don't care about the NPCs, but if they do, you need to be prepared to make something up. Most of the time, it won't matter. But it matters to them. And because it matters to them, it matters to you. And so with that, I would say that if you can take those three main things, being able to improv, being able to have a discussion about what the campaign's going to be about, what everybody's going to be playing, and if you know generally what the players want out of the game and what they want to do, and you try your best to say yes to what they want to do, yes, you can do X, Y, and Z. Even if you didn't plan it, if you can do most of those things, then I think you're going to be a great DM. Just doing those three things. You don't have to be the best story writer. You don't have to have everything planned out. You don't have to have every character's backstory written out beforehand. You don't have to be an amazing author or a voice actor. If you can just get those three things down well enough for everyone to have fun, you've done your job. And you'll find D&D is a lot of fun. It's a social game, and in this day and age, we don't really get that ability to be around other people and to have an experience like that with your friends in person. So I'm telling you now, just give it a try. Take those three things and work really hard on them, and if you can, and apply that to your game, and you'll be a great DM. Thank you for watching this video. If you watched it all the way, I really appreciate it. This is my first video on YouTube, and it took me forever to make the video. But anyways, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Most likely it will be D&D related, but I'm gonna try and experiment with some other ideas. My fiance wants to make videos on this YouTube channel, so stick around for that. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep up with videos in the future, subscribe and get that little bell for the notifications. And I'll see you next time.